How will the AI affect you in the job industry? Let's discuss. So this is probably one of the biggest questions that has been asked to me. What will this do to future generations? What will this do to our children? How does this impact their schooling? Should they be taking in university? Is there other options that they should be pursuing? And it's for good reason. This is a very difficult topic. Obviously, I'm not prognosticating and saying this is exactly what will or will not happen. I can only say, from what I'm seeing today, some of the trends and just some of the common thoughts in regards to what would be professions and or things that our children could focus on. It has less potential impact from AI, at least today, again, today. So one of the areas, we were talking earlier in another video about the state of AI and whether or not it was a bubble and how quickly could we see some of these innovations. One of the areas that was slowing and is slowing AI down today is the fact that infrastructurally, we are not yet caught up to what a lot of these different companies want to do and how they want to grow. Data centers specifically designed for AI are one of those pieces of infrastructure that the industry needs to be created. And they're so big and there's so many of them and there's so many projects that areas like an electrician, for example, having people that can do the work to build those data centers and even just maybe even making the facilities. It's not just the electricity that we're going to help create within the data center itself, meaning having an electrician there, but we're talking about the actual electricity to the data center. We're going to need more electrical power stations to be able to power these infrastructures. They may be made, these DCs, these data centers may be created far away from the city. They may not have the electrical infrastructure to be able to actually power these data centers. So you need the people to build the data centers themselves. You need the people that have the expertise in a particular area, like being an electrician. You have the building of these power stations themselves and making sure that they all work. There's water for cooling, and again, having the facilities to make sure the water is available and that it can cool these data centers. There's so many different areas that can be thought of, at least in the short term, to help provide an idea of maybe what kind of professions may be hotter into the future. I think too, if we dig deeper into that, it's not just thinking about, in this case, a particular use case, which is we need people to build things. It's what does AI do well today and what does AI maybe not do as well today. One of the core topics that I'm learning in this ISACA AAISM certification is about basically not just the AI technology itself and the oversight and the governance that's needed, but also where human beings kind of slot into this new paradigm. And one of those areas is what they call human in the loop. There is still a need for human beings to be inserted into this AI solution universe that we're coming up with today. So what does that mean? That means that we need to have oversight for AI. We need to basically still be able to check AI and to make sure that whatever it is producing is in fact as good as we want it to be. We'll also discuss in future videos, what data quality means and who determines what data quality is. Is data ever going to be at a high enough quality? Because it comes from human beings. There's so many different aspects to that component. But beyond that piece is what does AI not do well today, which is mostly physical things at this point. People do talk about robotics being 5 to 10 years behind AI, and I'm not here to debate that one way or the other. I will say though, for now, things like being an electrician where you have to physically be there and to wire a facility is a tangible profession that will allow somebody to actually, that's needed, that an AI construct cannot do, at least at this moment. And that is how I would be thinking as a parent going forward, for my own children, is what are things that will require a person, at least in the somewhat short-term future, that AI would be more difficult to take that place of. Things like healthcare, for example. There's going to be, with the geriatric population, a huge need for people to help look after these people that are getting older, our parents and our grandparents. Things like mining, for example. Mining is another area. You still need to mine the ore. You have to have the infrastructures there. I'm not saying the back end systems that manage all the data for the mining company wouldn't be, utilized or would not move towards AI. But anything that is physical, tangible jobs, they're going to be something that people should consider going forward. So you're going to say what some people call blue collar trades are likely going to become hotter, at least in the short term, because you're going to need those people to physically do those tasks. And then there's the upkeep themselves, like these data center builds that we talked about in the other video. We're going to have the need to build these and maintain these gigantic facilities. Again, will this be able to be changed over time? Yes, I'm sure. But in the interim, in the short term at the very least, these are areas, technical areas even, that would be a potential area for our children to move towards. So does that mean that the other areas, things that are data centric, our children should not pursue? And I'm not here to tell anyone what they should or should not do. I will say that there is more risk there. So when it comes to data and the analysis of data, that is definitely the prime sweet spot for AI constructs even today. So if you have data analysts, or you have anything to do with sorting of massive amounts of data, even things like accounting, for example, that go by a certain rule set, contractual positions, which are taking known laws and creating outputs, those are going to be an easier realm for AI to show its expertise, for lack of a better word. So I think it's really important to think along the lines of what does AI do really well? And those are likely going to be the first jobs that will be in jeopardy for people today. Other things, we talked about automation and driving, even though it's not 100% here yet, they've made great advances there. So just looking ahead, you extrapolate and you can see, well, that can start talking about jobs for driving, trucking, boating, possibly even flight. These are going to be things that likely in time may be taken over by that AI capability. Some of the areas that may be a little bit more challenging in regards to AI being able to do these roles is likely in the area of teaching and law. Lawyers themselves, obviously having to be in court and fighting a case is one thing, but when it comes to contractual law or anything that is based on data, so understanding the law, all the different laws, all the different rulings that have come out in the past, this is something that AI is extremely good at and can likely do a very good job with whatever data is given to it, and the more data the better, at least the more quality data the better. Teaching as well, being able to basically load in a certain type of education material that is already formalized and having that to be able to interact with human beings. ChatGPT really is an example of that today, having that kind of interaction, being able to ask questions and answer questions about pretty much anything, likely will be, and it will be a good thing in some cases too, because maybe there isn't the teacher population available for very poor areas of the world or places that are more inaccessible, and you have an iPad that has this AI construct on it that is able to do teaching in classrooms for these more remote locations or places where they don't have the economic capacity to have the teachers that they need. So it's not like it's all a bad thing, but there's just, keeping that understanding in the back of your head as to, for future positions, what could AI potentially more easily take the place of human beings? I would be looking at things that are data centric, that are looking up of data, getting answers, integrating into your daily life. There's going to be a lot more of that. The jobs or the positions that are more difficult for AI to replace at the moment would be more physical based jobs, or things that require a great deal of context, which means taking the data and understanding how that data should be applied in a particular circumstance. AI is not bad at that. It's definitely growing at a rapid pace, but there is still areas of improvement there, which is why a lot of the human in the loop positions are still in place, making sure that the data that is being taken by our AI solution actually is implementing some of that context and being able to help correct that and to improve those models so they make better decisions and are able to improve their contextual expertise.